Hey guys, what's going on? Brian here with Classic G-Body Garage, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the window sweeps on your G-Body. So today I'm working on my 1986 Monte Carlo. Now this is a car that I bought a few months back. It has been sitting a long time, and I'm just going through it, just replacing the parts that it needs. And today I'm going to show you guys how to replace the window sweeps. Now what is a window sweep? Well, that is a piece of weather stripping that lines the top of the door or the base of the glass, and it creates a weather-tight seal so dirt and debris does not fall down inside the door, collect, and then rust out that door. It also acts as a dew wipe. So if you're you get in your car, it's a cool morning and it's covered in dew and you can't see out of the windows, when you put the window down, it has a felt-lined weather stripping, and it basically squeegees the window as it goes down. You put it back up, and you can see through it and get to your destination safely. Now, as you can see on this Monte Carlo, there is basically nothing left of this window sweep. It's completely dried out, it's full of cracks, and half of it's missing. It's literally crumbling apart, and I could take chunks of it and pull it right off. So it really isn't too difficult to replace these window sweeps, but in order to get to them, I do have to remove the door panel. So let me go ahead and grab my tools and start removing these things. Now these door panels really aren't that difficult to remove. All it takes is really a Phillips screwdriver. The first thing we're going to do is remove the door lock knob. Now the covers, there are usually covers here. In this case, these are missing, so I'm going to have to go ahead and replace these. But there are a couple of Phillips screws behind it. The next thing we're going to do is remove the armrest, which is held on by 2 Phillips screws. Down here in the bottom of it. And once you have these screws out, it slides forward and pulls out. Sometimes you find some money in there. So behind the armrest there are 2 more Phillips screws. Let's remove those. Alright, once the armrest was removed, these 2 Phillips screws are removed. There's just a matter of several clips that hold the rest of it on, and you just simply and carefully get behind it with your fingers and pull it. If it's stubborn, you can get yourself a clip tool like this one here and start to get behind all the clips and pull them out that way. Alright, so the door panel is loose. It's just kind of hanging here. It's hanging by the hanging on the door handle. Now on the driver's side, if your car has a remote mirror, it has a knob, the controller that comes through the door panel right here. And what you need to do is get yourself a small Allen wrench. So slide the door panel forward off of the door handle itself. It pulls down. Flip it around. Then you can see that there is an Allen screw that holds it right here. Go ahead and remove it, or at least loosen it up. You don't even have to remove it, and the handle, the knob, the controller pulls right out. Just make sure that Allen screw does not go anywhere, so kind of run it back down a little bit. The lower door panel is now removed, so let's get that out of the way. Now to remove the upper, there's going to be a clip, a plastic clip on either side. So let me grab my tool. Go ahead and release that. And then same with the front side. That one is already released. So you want to make sure your window is down. Kind of lift up on the door panel and it unhooks. If your car has power windows, you're going to have the plug on the back side, so make sure that you go ahead and remove that plug simply by unplugging it from the back side of the switch. Sometimes there's a plastic retainer on the back here that you remove. Now if your car does have manual crank windows, there is a clip on the back side of the window crank that you could remove with a screwdriver or a hook tool as well to remove that and to remove the window crank itself. Alright, so we have the door panel out of the way, we have the padding out of the way. So if you do have electric windows, go ahead and pull the switch out of the door panel and plug it back into your harness. If you have a window crank, attach it back on, because we need to move the glass up and down. And the reason why we need to move the glass up and down is because we need to access the screws that hold the window sweep trim in place. We need to drop the glass down further than it does normally, and in order to do that, we have to lift up the paper here, tear it a little bit if you have to, and there is a window stop, which is right here. It is a 10mm bolt. We're going to remove it, which will then allow the glass to drop down even further, about an inch or two further, to access the Phillips head screws to remove this piece of trim. Now you can see exactly where the bolt was. It makes a mark on the paint, so when you reapply it or reinstall it, you want to put that in exact same spot where it was. So I have the window stop removed, and the next step is going to be removing the Phillips head screws that hold the molding on. Now if your car has the wide molding like this one does here, that has the window sweep attached, you're going to have a Phillips screw on the very front right here. So go ahead and remove that, and then remove the screws that hold on the trim itself. Now you can see the reason why we remove the window stop, because the glass itself only goes down this far, and we have some Phillips screws that are behind the glass, and that's why you want to drop the window down a little bit further so we can access those screws. Once all the screws are removed, the trim simply just pulls straight off. So there are two different styles of trim that GM offered on the G-Body, where you had the wide style trim, like this one here, and you could see at the top of the door. And in this case, your window sweep is just going to be a bare piece of rubber like this, which attaches to the actual chrome trim itself. Now if your car has, or if your car doesn't have this wide piece of molding, and it only has this skinny piece of molding like this one here, well, your window sweeps are going to look like this and have the piece of skinny molding already attached to the window sweep itself. So you don't have to worry about attaching it to the piece of chrome, because the job is already done. And in this case, you simply just screw it onto the door and you're finished. In this case, with the wide trim, we have to remove the old window sweep from the piece of chrome trim, and it's attached to the chrome trim with a series of crimps. And you can see on the back side of the molding there are crimps all along. There are dimples all along the inside here, where a machine presses and pierces the chrome, which also pierces the window sweep that keeps the window sweep attached to the piece of chrome. And in order to remove that, you simply just pull on it. And as you pull on it, it just pops right off. Sometimes a little bit more difficult, but you don't want to pull to the point where you're going to bend this piece of trim. So carefully get it done, and as you can see, that's what's left of the old window sweep. Alright, I went ahead and unboxed everything. They come in a nice long cardboard box so they won't get damaged. And I have both sets of them, the inners and outers, sitting right here. And I already removed the outer, as you guys saw, and I laid it down next to a reproduction, and I'm going to go down the line here, and you can see that they have it reproduced exactly like the original, which is pretty nice. And they even offer the original thicker felts right here to make up some of the window slop. Looks like all the holes are in the proper location, and they even have a factory slot right here. So these reproductions are pretty nice. The quality seems pretty good. I have one of them flipped on the other side here so you can see what the quality looks like. They're nice and wide, nice and flexible, nice and thick. You can see what the outer part looks like as well. Now as far as the inners go, the inners have a piece of chrome from the factory. The inners, of course, are mounted to the inner door panel, and they are also fastened with a staple. So we're going to have to figure that part out as far as removing and then reinstalling, but I have both of them sitting here. You can see that the reproduction inner has the chrome bead on it as well. It's flat, just like the original. And then I have the other one flipped on the back side. And you can see they do have holes here, so I might be able to fasten it with some rivets. But that's what they look like. Some real nice looking high quality pieces here. I just wanted to show you exactly what they look like in detail. Alright, so upon assembly, we are actually not going to fasten this window sweep to this piece of chrome by crimping it. The window sweep itself has the holes that go through it all the way down the line, so the screws are going to hold the window sweep to the piece of trim and then the trim to the door, and you do not have to recrimp it. So that is nice and easy. What we're going to do next is flatten these crimps, because we want this window sweep to lay flat against this piece of chrome. And if you don't flatten out those factory crimps, you're going to have bumps all along the window sweep, and that just won't look good. So let me go ahead and show you how I'm going to go ahead and flatten each one of these crimps. So I have the door trim here in the vise, and I have it up against a flat piece of the vise. And this piece is built out of aluminum, so it's very easy to work with. So what I'm going to do is just take a hammer and flatten these down, because they're just a bumped up protrusion. So simply just take a hammer and knock it flat. So these two are flat, so I'm going to work my way all the way down the piece of trim, make them all flat, so the window sweep lays flat against this piece of trim when I screw it back together. Alright, everything is flat and smooth. I knocked the crimps back flat, so now the window sweep is going to sit nice and flat on the piece of molding and not have any bumps and ripples in it. So let's go ahead and get this mounted back on the door. Now before you mount it up, just make sure you wipe everything down, because there's a lot of dirt that collects underneath the chrome molding, so it never hurts to wipe things down. As you put the trim back on, don't tighten the screws as hard as you can as you go. Just put them in there snug. Once all the screws are set, then go back and retighten. Just because you want to make sure everything lines up correctly. Alright, all the screws are nice and tight, everything is secure and looking great. So I went ahead and removed the splash shield, because now that will give me access to the window track, because I want to make sure I oil everything up and the window operates smoothly as it goes up and down. And also the window will go up and down a lot quicker. Also, now's a chance to go ahead and oil up the door latch, because these door latches tend to get rusted. The locks don't operate smoothly, the key doesn't work. Now's the time to oil things up as you have the door panel off. The first thing I'm going to do though is reinstall the window stop. Make sure it goes right back where it was, based on where the bolt made its mark. And also, while the door panel is off, now is also a great time, other than oiling everything, is to make sure all of the window tracks are tight. This one looked like it was working its way loose a little bit. Just go through and just snug everything back up. Alright, now I'm ready to put the door panel back on. I put the window stopper back into place. I oiled the track. I oiled the latch mechanism. Everything is good and tight, ready to go, and the door panel goes back on the way it came off. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the window switch, and then hang the top door panel, and then start fastening everything back up. Make sure your window works before you put everything back together. Alright, now since the outer window sweeps are all done, I want to show you how to install the inners. Now the door panels on the Monte Carlo do not need window sweeps, so I'm not going to go ahead and replace them for no reason. So I did grab this spare door panel that I had sitting around the shop just to show you how this inner window sweep that sits on the inner door panel right here is attached from the factory, and how I'm going to go about removing and replacing it with the new one sitting right here. Alright, so when you take the door panel off, you flip it over, and there is a metal inner brace on the upper part of the door panel, and you can see the weather stripping right here. So it is held on by several metal staples from the factory that staple through the weather stripping, through the metal brace, and then crimp on the back side. Now if you can see here on the back side, you can see the staples. There's several that line the door panel, and then on the flip side, when you bend the weather stripping back, you can see the staples on the other side. So in order to remove those, I'm going to go ahead and grab a grinder. And I'm going to take my grinder and position it so I can take the grinding wheel and slice the back side of the staples to remove the crimp, and then I should be able to pull the weather stripping off of the door panel. Alright, and let's see if this thing will come off. Basically just getting behind it with my fingers and giving it a tug. There you go. Weather stripping came off. So you can see where all the staples were fastened to the door panel. All along right here. So that came off relatively easy. It just ground off the back side of the staples, and the weather stripping just pulled off. So let's go ahead and figure out how to get this fastened back up. As far as fastening the new one down, I'm not going to staple it. You can see there are a series of holes in the new weather stripping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the new weather stripping on the door panel and grab myself a Sharpie and mark through those holes onto the door panel. Then I'm going to drill the holes, the pilot holes. Then I'm going to fasten the new weather stripping on with some flathead sheet metal screws, and those sheet metal screws are going to bite into that metal bracing on the back side. Then once I'm done, I need to cut the threads off on the screw, because I don't want those threads poking through right here, because the door panel will not be able to hook back onto the door frame itself. So let me get this all marked up, drilled, and I'll put a couple of screws in there, and I'll show you exactly what I mean as far as those threads sticking through the door panel frame. So here you can see where the threads of the screws stick through the upper door panel frame. I'm going to grind off the threads of the screws so they are flush with the door panel frame, so they don't get in the way of the door panel hanging on the door frame when you go to reinstall it. Alright, everything is put back together, and these window sweeps look awesome. I mean, check them out. They are soft, smooth, flexible, and look just like the factory when the car was brand new. So I'm really happy with these products from Dixie Restoration Depot. Now I mentioned that these window sweeps prevent dirt and debris and water from falling down inside the door and rusting things out. Well, they also prevent the glass from wiggling back and forth and keep it in line when the window goes up and down. So when the door slams shut and the glass wobbles all around and sounds like a bunch of filing cabinets falling down the stairs, well, those window sweeps sandwich the glass and keep everything good and tight, so the door closes nice and quiet and solid. Now there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to handle a job like this on your own, on your G-Body, by following the steps that I took here. Now these steps can also be followed on most any other classic car. I want to thank Dixie Restoration Depot for sponsoring this video and hooking me up with a real nice set of window sweeps for this Monte Carlo. That's just another thing I can check off the list to get this car back on the road. Now, if you want to find out more about Dixie Restoration Depot products for your classic car, make sure you visit their website. I'll put the link in the description below, and here it is on the screen. Now, of course, you want to follow along with Classic G-Body Garage on both Instagram and Facebook. I am always posting projects on the cars or updates on the cars that I buy and updates on these projects as well. And finally, I encourage you all to subscribe here to Classic G-Body Garage on YouTube for more great informative videos on keeping your classic car on the road. Now, until the next Classic G-Body Garage video, make sure you keep those G-bodies rolling.